Hey there. Welcome back to a new episode of the Second Act Success Career Podcast. I am your host, Shannon Russell. Thank you for being here. And I want to thank everyone for the amazing notes that you've been sending me and the incredible feedback I've been getting on my new book. It really means so much to me. So keep those reviews coming onto Amazon and Barnes and Noble. If you have read the book, I would love to hear what you think, especially as a listener, because you know me well. You know me more than the average reader. You can DM me. I'm at Second Act Success on Instagram, and I'm Shannon Russell Career Coach on LinkedIn. Are you ready to quit your 9 to 5 job and start a business of your own? Well, you're in the right place, my friend. Welcome to the Second Act Success Career Podcast. I am your host, Shannon Russell. I am a former television producer turned business owner, career transition coach, and boy mom. My mission is to help you produce your best life. This podcast will teach you how to get from where you are now to where you want to be, and how to build a business that fits your life and lights you up. Let's get started. On this episode of the show, we are going to have a conversation about a different kind of second act. We're going to be talking about the second act of Sunny Sun. Sunny is a former colleague of mine. We both owned the same franchise business, and she also has become a coaching client of mine, and I currently help her with her business. So I know Sunny's story, and it really is an interesting one. Sunny grew up in China and moved to the United States in college. Sunny went on to get a master's degree, start a career in accounting and finance, and then she decided to go into business for herself. What I love about this story is Sunny really dives into the second act of really venturing into a new country and learning the culture, learning people, really perfecting the English language, and also becoming a business owner. For me, having known her for many years, getting to see this different side of her was really incredible. And she has just accomplished so much so far in her life and in her business. And I want to bring this conversation to you. So here we go. Let me introduce you to today's guest with her second act success story. This is Sunny Sun. Sunny Sun, I'm so excited to have you here on the Second Act Success podcast. How are you doing?
Good. Hi, Shannon. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so happy to chat with you. We have known each other for a really long time. We were both Snapology owners. You still are. And we work together. I coach you on your business as well. So we know each other very well. But your story of moving from China to the US, opening a business, why don't you tell me when you decided to move to the United States?
First of all, Shannon, thank you so much for inviting me. Even though after about 16 years moved to United States, I still feel like sometimes I'm an outsider to the whole culture and the society. And I never really thought about to be on a podcast with you. So I feel thrilled.
Oh,
Um,
we're
thank
so
you.
lucky to hear your story, really, between your career and your business and being a mom, and you just have your hands in so much.
When I decided to move to US, it was actually when I was in elementary school, and it was not really my decision. Back then, China looked very different than United States. First of all, as a lot of people know, majority of the families in China has only one child. Our parents put on a, high expectations on us. Sometimes they kind of try to plan ahead of what they think a good life fits us. One of my family members went to university at an early age, got high achievement. So she became the first group of students who visited United States as college students. And after that, she actually came to United States for her PhD, became like the pride of the whole family. And back then, my mom, who are the big sister of the family, just saw everything and saw the pictures my aunt sent over and then talk about it with me. And she said, okay, you're going to United States when you grow up, even though you're only 7 years old. I have all of these great pictures in my mind about you. I was on a path partially planned by my parents.
Maybe not at 7, but as you grew up, were you always looking forward to coming to the States and to have that experience like your aunt did?
I mean, as a child, I didn't really have a lot of special feelings or excitement to look forward coming to United States. The only information I got is from the weekly phone calls of my aunt. So I feel like it's more of hearing a different life story in a different country. Maybe the third year after I came here, I really started to learn more about the culture, to make more friends here, and to explore more stuff that's like totally different than China. And
Mhm.
then I started to really have fun, to ride the wave.
I'm sure it was an adjustment to leave your family and to leave your country that was all that you knew. Did you come here while you were in college or was it after college?
I came here at the third year of my college. I finished the last year of my college in United States. And I also, I took the GMAT and the GRE exam and I got into the graduate school and then I stayed here.
What was your impression when you got here, especially as a college student?
I mean, it was also very refreshing to me. Back then, when I was 20 years old, I was fearless.
Hmm.
I feel like, I still have that fearless in my heart, no matter how old I get. Now I'm like much older than 20 years old. But I still remember the first day I came to United States. I landed in Los Angeles. I was like running in the terminal. That was the first time I saw such a big terminal and with a lot of like different kind of faces. And I was so excited. And it was so weird. I started to talk to strangers in English, and then I'm like, oh, it's the first day I'm here. How are you? Like, I was so crazy that day. I don't know if it's because, of the lack of sleep or anything, the time difference. I was just also excited. And then I landed in New York. I actually finished my last year of my college in a school called Rowan University in New Jersey. I settled in the dorm. I learned that the dorm is actually mixed gender, boys and girls. They stay in the same building. That was the first shock to me. What? How like like the first thing come to me is not like the general safety issue. The first concern I had was how can girls and boys stay in the same building? I was 20 years old. I was still concerning about that.
Yeah.
How different the kids could become with such a different cultural background.
Mhm. That is a culture shock. But you did it. You finished your last year, and what happened after that? You knew you were staying,
Yeah.
and what was your first job? What did you want to get into for your career?
When I was in the last year of college, I thought a lot about what I want. Um, but at the same time, I also talk to my parents a lot. At the beginning, they tried to persuade me to get into computer science. And I was brave enough to say no to them because I knew computer science was not my thing. I remember my parents told me, okay, so think about it. You're Asian. You're born to be good at math. If you're not going for computer science, you can choose from finance, accounting. I mean, I don't think you want to go to medical school, right? That's exactly what they said. I still remember like every single word they said.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my choice. So,
Were you good at
uh,
numbers? Did you enjoy it?
it's so funny. I was not the best students in math, I would say. Like a lot of people, they have a stereotype of Asian people who are just like naturally good in math, which is not really the case. We can't really look at people in races and, ethnics and gender group just to decide what they are.
Mm-mm. I find it interesting that your parents almost put you in that stereotype of saying, well, you have to be good. Here are your options.
Back then, I didn't really, I was also not that rebellion type. I didn't want to intentionally go against my parents. I had an open mind. I just, explored all of the options and I found accounting might be interesting. So that's why I chose accounting in graduate school. After 2 years of master's study, I also got into the business school as an MBA student. So I studied business after the 4 years of the study in graduate school, really landed a great foundation of my mind of being an entrepreneur to embrace all of the changes and uh, new stuff coming to my life.
Yeah, so then you get out, you have your master's, you have your MBA as well. And so now you're going into the workforce and where did you begin?
At the time I graduated, I applied jobs in both public and private companies, and I got a job offer from a private company. So that's how I started my first job. I started to work at a general construction company. Back then, that company imported materials and equipment from China. So I kind of took advantage of my ability of writing and reading and communicating in Chinese. I got the job as accountant slash administrative manager back then. So
Hmm.
other than being an accountant, I was in charge of all the communication to the factories and representatives in China. I monitored the logistics of the materials. That first job was kind of beyond accounting already.
Hmm.
After that, I actually got another job from a startup. It was specialized in photo editing.
Oh.
So that company became a part of Adobe. I became kind of like a general consultant of two other startup companies with all my background of accounting and operation management. So that's how my whole 8-year journey goes.
I know that you're not still in accounting. So, how did you decide to get into entrepreneurship? What was that catalyst to get you out of that corporate world and into owning your own business?
I got married in 2013. That was about, 8 years after I worked in Manhattan. I had my first child. At that time, I was working at a trading company. It was a very, very exciting. I mean, it's finance industry is super upbeat. People are very passionate, and I really like the vibe of the industry. However, I had to get to the office at 8 o'clock in the morning. I moved to New Jersey at the time already. So it was about 1 hour train ride every day.
Mm.
So I would take the train at 6:30 and get into the city, get a cup of coffee, and then get into the office. It worked, it worked out well. I still liked the life I had until I had my son.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I know you are a mom too.
I did it into Manhattan as well. And it's so much more than that 1 hour commute, right? Because it's
Yeah,
that getting to the train station, getting on, looking at the schedule, subway, walking avenues and blocks. So it's a
yeah.
long day.
Yeah, and then especially after I had my son, I sent him to the daycare, but still, like in the morning, I had to get up super early to get his lunch ready, get his bag ready. The whole morning commute became a, a big marathon for me, Yeah. So then, I was struggling, I was struggling of making any changes. I was doing well in the company. I made friends there. I like the vibe of Manhattan. I like to go into the city every day. But then on the other side, I really felt I was stretched too thin
Mm,
to even love myself enough. Like I am kind of like sacrifice everything just to make my life stay there.
mm,
It got me thinking a lot, like, should I stay there this way? Should I keep the life this way? Or
mhm.
should I think about other ways to, make my life easier? So then I started to do my research. I actually thought about getting a franchise in the beginning because, I feel like it is an easier start. I had some savings, to put in as an investment. So I did do a thorough research across different industries for franchise opportunities, from Chinese restaurants, coffee shops, accounting services. I did research of kids' indoor playgrounds. I even thought about open a bubble tea shop.
Ooh.
Yeah, so, all of that, I definitely did my research. Then, one day I was building Lego with my son. He was only 3 years old, but he was super, super into Lego. And he started to build things, and then he started to ask me questions like, Mom, guess what I built? I was like, Oh, is that a bee? He's like, No, it's not. It's a tiger. I'm like, oh, okay. You built a tiger, but it looked like a little ball to me. Maybe you want to add 4 legs there because tiger has 4 legs. All of this conversation, it got me thinking, wow, I can talk a lot about a lot of different topics with Lego.
Hmm.
Like along the way, I can talk about animals, I can talk about technologies,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. And then there's just like a sparkle in my mind. I'm like, oh, this can be a great idea. And then I found Snapology. The brand perfectly aligned with my thought.
Hmm.
And it also aligned kind of, my budget and everything. So I just jumped right into it.
Sunny, our stories are so alike because it was my 3-year-old, my oldest son, that gave me that idea for Snapology as well
Oh,
because he was building with Duplos and Legos while I felt like that was the only time that I could walk away and do the dishes. And I had a newborn at the time
yeah,
too, but I
yeah,
felt like he needed a lot of attention, but when he was building, he was in the zone and he was
yeah.
just right. So it was the same thing where I was like, well, maybe there's something to this. And I think so many moms can relate to the idea that really Lego is such a magical toy. It's such a magical tool that can teach so much. And then for me, which I think it's probably similar to you, finding the franchise just gave you everything you needed to be able to start a business without coming up with everything from scratch.
Yeah, exactly. The continuing thought we had at the time, we were moms, we had kids, but we didn't stop there. We have our mind continuing rolling
Yeah.
while we, hang out with kids, while we do our dishes. We
Mhm.
we think about, oh, this might be a good idea. This is a good opportunity. And then, we kind of bring our idea into actions. We started to do the research and make it happen. Moms are strong.
Yes, exactly. So when you started researching and you found the franchise Snapology, did you know that you were going to go in to open this business and then leave your job? Was it like you're going to focus on being an entrepreneur, or were you trying to do both at the same time?
At the beginning, I thought about doing both at the same time. But again, I had to measure my capacity. I had the child, I am working 10 hours a day. I had that super, super early commute. I was not sure if I have anything left for this new business. So I have always wanted to kind of leave the job because of the overwhelming
Yeah.
uh, commute. So yeah, so that's why, I made a hard decision to leave the job and started my business full time.
So you're starting this business, you have a little one at home. And now, a lot with this business. So, for listeners who aren't aware, Snapology is STEM education. So, teaching Legos, robotics, coding, all of that. And you have to go out and market the business to your community, to partners. You mentioned you felt like you were still a little out of the box, coming from China and having that background. So, what was promoting this business like for you?
At the beginning, I was terrified. Like now I have to admit that I'm still sometimes terrified. Back then I was like 100% terrified versus now I'm probably 20% terrified. Because I grow up in China. It's a completely different country. Back then we spent 6 hours at school studying. We have PE class 1 hour a day, and that's it. That's all of our enrichment. And then we didn't really have anything after school. After school, it was the 2 hours extended time. We stay in the classroom quietly doing our homework.
Wow.
Yeah, and our teacher always makes sure we have enough homework that we can work on for that 2 hours. So
Wow.
you don't really need to worry about, oh, what are you going to do if you already finish your homework? Can't you just
No,
go out and play? That was not the
no.
case. Everything here was so new to me, and it was eye-opening. Back then, my son was 4 years old. He was still a little bit young to the school life, so I got to explore and get to know more about how the schools worked and how the after-school enrichment works. How could kids go to all different kind of summer camps for a great varieties of activities. It's just a lot of thing that I learned along the way while I was promoting my programs. It was so funny, it's very hard for me to open up about I run a business, I want to partner with you, or I want to bring my program to you. But I just sometimes get too nervous and I started to ask questions. I start to kind of, chat with people about what I don't know and what you know about and tell me more about it. And along the way, I kind of get to know people and they get to know me more. And then I just naturally bring up, I run a business. And I feel like that's how I I make deals happen. It's just me, I have the personality of first of all talking to people about unrelated topics and then I will like, chill down and relax a little bit and then we talk about what I do.
Mm. First off, all entrepreneurs are terrified, no matter what stage of business, because it's so much pressure that we put on ourselves. But I think you are right. You ease into it. You had a lot of learning to do about what the after school enrichment was like in your area compared to what you grew up with. So you're learning, and then you're having to communicate this to partners and schools and libraries. And luckily, you do have that personality to be so friendly and be outgoing and start those conversations. And so you were able to grow and scale your business really organically and naturally in a way that feels comfortable to you.
Yeah, I feel so lucky. I didn't really force myself to do something I'm super uncomfortable with, and fortunately, it worked. So
Now, at this point in your business, how are you feeling about being an entrepreneur compared to working in an office and having that long commute every day?
yeah, actually, a lot of my friends ask me the same question. A lot of them, they had the moment that they really want to quit their job in big companies and they want to start something. So I always tell them there's no really better or worse. It's just, it's different. You need to expect to put in the same or even more energy into your own business than working for others. The only thing I would say you get is the little freedom, the little flexibility you have to control your own time. But overall, the time that you spend on work doesn't really get less. I believe in hard work, really value the continuing learning and exploring. I don't think anyone can stop at a point, no matter where they work or where their life is. So, yeah, I always tell my friend, if you want to quit your job, you need to prepare for it, get ready for it. Be serious about it. You can't say, oh, I want to quit a job and next month I will launch something and I will become a billionaire.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yes.
I believe in working hard. Yeah.
I definitely want to touch upon all of the other things that you're involved in because you are involved in a nonprofit. You teach ski lessons. Talk to me about all of the other things that keep you excited and engaged on the weekends and after work.
I have been a skier for about 12 years and I just fall in love with it. I took my certification exam to be a ski instructor about 3 years ago. It was just naturally happened because I'm running education business. My business it's about teaching kids and to help them to have more fun while learning. It's the same as learning to ski. I was inspired by the whole system of teaching skiing, like how you can translate all of the complicated body moving mechanics into very friendly and engaging activities for kids. So without telling them what they should do, you kind of show them, like simple movements. And through those simple movements, they eventually get to where they should be. It was magical. When I'm teaching skiing, I thought about Snapology and I thought about all the connections that, teaching skiing, teaching a sport with STEM education. That's so funny. Like, these two things, it doesn't appear to connect with each other, but it actually does. It's amazing.
Wow, I never even put that together either. And that's so exciting for you to be able to really get fulfillment in both aspects of your teaching.
Yeah, yeah. After I started working there, I actually saw a lot of Asian people who skis very well, who has the certification of being instructor, but has struggle of really become an instructor at a resort because a lot of resort don't really sponsor any type of visa or anything. It actually happens to a lot of people who studied here before they get permanent residence card. I kind of formed this nonprofit for the Asian instructors to have a network of their own to share the study of skiing and snowboarding, and to use the resource as a professional platform to increase the overall awareness of winter sports, the benefit of joining the winter sports, and the education background and knowledge of all the instructors I know to promote the winter sports. We try to figure out ways to get more people who has limited access to be an sports educator or overall educator, more access, more opportunity for them to get there. But it's a
Yeah.
bubble. It has a very thin wall. Like you just need to have that courage and have that creativity and imagination of, break that bubble and make this thing for more people. So yeah,
Mhm.
that is what I'm doing right now.
What is the name of that nonprofit? So if any listeners want to take a look.
Our nonprofit is called Passion, and we have a website. It's called winterpassion.org. You can go to that website and learn everything about it.
That's amazing. Sunny, you have come so far from that 7-year-old who was told to get to the States, do something with math, and now you are a business owner and you're running a nonprofit. You've got this math brain, this entrepreneur brain, and this creative brain all in one. As you were making these different changes in your career, what was the opinion of your family back in China?
Oh wow. I do get mixed reviews, I would say, like if I'm running my own play. At the beginning, I definitely got a lot of negative voices. They thought I was crazy quitting my job and started a business. Especially I'm starting a business in education, which is kind of unfavorable to what my parents originally wanted me to do.
Hmm.
I kind of feel like along the way, you need to prove that you are capable and your value can't just be limited to other people's plan. You have your own plan and you are taking actions to achieve your own dream. You don't have to measure yourself through other people's eyes. I actually had a kind of argument with my parents before I started to run Snapology, and they were like, "Oh, what do you think people will think about you? You will become someone who doesn't have an official job." Yeah, but then, I'm like, so what?
Yeah.
I'm doing something I like to do, probably for the very first time in my life. I'm motivated to do it. I learned everything about being independent, to chase my own freedom, to become myself, to become me. All of these years, I live in the other country. I survived a lot of different challenges, and I can survive this one.
Yeah, and I don't think that's just a Chinese fear. A lot of people have that fear here in the States and all over too of giving up something that is stable and comfortable for the unknown. But
Yep.
that is what I think an entrepreneur feels inside and knows that I'm going to try it and I can do it and I can use my skills and bring it over here. I'm really proud of you. I'm proud of you for going out on your own and creating such a beautiful life for yourself. And you're giving back in so many ways through your business and your nonprofit. Your story is just really inspiring.
Thank you so much. I'm proud of myself
Yeah,
too.
you should be. As we wrap up, I'd love to ask you what your advice to someone else who's thinking about leaving a job, starting a business, or really starting any type of second act. What advice do you have for them?
I want to tell them to be open-minded and to embrace adventures. Sometimes you will struggle with if I if I want to, give up everything I have and then go for something new. But still, think about it out of the box. Give yourself more options, explore more, and then you will eventually know what's the best for you. I don't really blindly preach people to start their own business. I always tell them you need to follow your heart, but still at the same time you want to measure all the resources you currently have and all the potential resource in the pipeline that you can get to start a business. Do your research, take good
Hmm.
action. If you think about starting a business, then just start to do it, little by little every day. Spend half hour, browse online and see if anyone has the same idea as you, if there is any success stories. Start from there. I've had friends who told me they want to quit their job and start a business for years. And every time when I ask, oh, how does your plan of starting a new business go? And then they would be like, oh, I'm so busy with my work right now. It's hard for me to think about it.
Mm,
It's, I know it's hard, but think about it while you do your dishes.
right.
Yeah.
That is such excellent advice. Thank you so much for sharing that. Where can everyone connect with you? Where are the best places?
My business is currently mobile based. We bring a lot of STEM programs to schools. libraries, community centers, and other educational institutions. You can find me popping in one of those classes. We currently are promoting our summer camp. We have a primary location in New Bern, New Jersey. Feel free to come to my website, summit.snapology.com, to check out our calendar, to see all the programs currently running. Feel free to talk to me. I'm always available on the phone and to reach out by email. Plus, find me at Okemo. I'm teaching at Okemo every snow season. So, yeah, you will
Great.
find me there.
Wonderful, Sunny. I'm going to link to everything that we chatted about in the show notes for listeners to grab and get in touch with you. And thank you so much. I'm so happy to know you and be able to see your businesses taking off and to be able to call you a friend. So thank you so much for being here to share your whole story with us.
Yeah, thank you. It was such a pleasure talking to you. I didn't expect myself to talk this much. I'm like, really? I have spoken in English for this long time already?
Thank you for joining us. I hope you found some gems of inspiration and some takeaways to help you on your path to second act success. To view show notes from this episode, visit secondactsuccess.co. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss a single episode. Reviews only take a few moments and they really do mean so much. Thank you again for listening. I'm Shannon Russell, and this is Second Act Success.